The alien council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as the holographic display showed the human colony of New Haven burning. Commander Rex of the Varan Empire stood before the assembled delegates, his scaled hands clasped behind his, back as he watched the destruction unfold on the massive screen. "The humans have proven themselves weak," Rex declared, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Their colonies fall easily. Their ships retreat at the first sign of real combat. They are nothing like the warriors we expected." The other alien species nodded in agreement. The bird-like Aves representatives clicked their beaks approvingly, while the insectoid hive delegates vibrated their wings in satisfaction. For 3 years, they had been testing humanity's resolve, attacking remote colonies and trade routes. Each time the human response had been the same: evacuation, retreat, and desperate calls for peace talks. "Their transmissions speak of mercy and understanding," added Elder Kess of the Aves. "They offer negotiations, even as we destroy their worlds. Such weakness disgusts me." What the aliens didn't know was that every attack had been carefully monitored. Deep in the classified halls of Earth's military command, Admiral Stone reviewed the same footage with very different eyes. The humans hadn't been retreating out of weakness. They had been learning. Every engagement, every lost colony, every cowardly withdrawal had been part of a larger strategy. "Sir, the pattern is clear," reported his aide, Lieutenant Blue. "There, testing our response times, our weapons, our tactics. They think we're soft because we evacuate civilians first and try diplomatic solutions." Admiral Stone's weathered face remained impassive. He had served in 3 different wars before humanity had even discovered faster-than-light travel. He knew the difference between mercy and weakness, between strategy and cowardice. The aliens had made a critical error in judgment. "They want to see our true nature," Stone said quietly. "Very well. Begin Operation Iron Fist." Back on the Varan flagship, Commander Rex received a priority transmission. The message was short and came directly from Earth's High Command. "You have 72 hours to withdraw from all human territories and return captured personnel. This is your only warning." Rex laughed, a harsh sound that made his subordinates flinch. "Look at this pathetic display. They still think they can intimidate us with words." He turned to his tactical officer. "Prepare the fleet for a full assault on the Sol system. If they want to play games, we'll show them what real power looks like." The decision had been made. The Varan Empire, along with their allies, would strike at the heart of human space. They expected the same weak response they had seen before evacuation: ships, defensive positions, and plaintive calls for peace. What they got instead would become legend. In the deepest sectors of human space, ships began to move. These weren't the patrol vessels and colony defense craft the aliens had faced before. These were the vessels of the Human Defense Force's Black Fleet ships that had been designed not for exploration or trade, but for one purpose only: total warfare. The fleet that emerged from the shadows was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Each ship was a masterpiece of destructive engineering, built by a species that had spent millennia perfecting the art of war on their own homeworld. The crews manning these vessels weren't explorers or diplomats. They were soldiers who had volunteered for the most dangerous assignment in human space. Captain Gray stood on the bridge of the HDF Retribution, watching as hundreds of similar vessels took formation around him. Each ship represented humanity's true nature, not the compassionate explorers the aliens had encountered, but the descendants of a species that had conquered their own world through strength and determination. "All ships report ready, Captain," his weapons officer announced. "Good," Gray replied. "It's time these aliens learned why we tried so hard to avoid this fight." The message had been sent across all human territories. The gloves were coming off. The species that had shown mercy and sought peaceful solutions was about to reveal why they had been so desperate to avoid war. Humanity's most ruthless fleet was moving toward the front lines, and they carried with them the accumulated fury of a species that had been pushed too far. The aliens wanted to see humanity's true nature. They were about to get their wish, and they would spend the rest of their lives regretting it. Asterisk, the Varan war fleet moved through space with confidence, their formations tight and disciplined. Commander Rex stood in his command center, watching the tactical display show their approach to the Sol system. 300 ships from 4 different species, all united in their belief that humanity would crumble under a direct assault. "Sir, we're detecting unusual energy signatures," reported his sensor officer. Multiple contacts emerging from the asteroid belt. Rex barely glanced at the readings. Probably mining vessels running scared. Continue the advance. But the signatures weren't from mining ships. From hidden bases carved into asteroids. From orbital platforms disguised as space debris. From the dark spaces between planets, humanity's true fleet began to reveal itself. The ships that emerged were massive, angular, and built for destruction. "Admiral." Stone watched from his command ship as the enemy fleet approached. Unlike the aliens, he felt no excitement, no bloodlust. He felt only the weight of necessity. For 3 years, humanity had endured attacks, lost colonies, and watched their people die all, while maintaining the hope that peace might be possible. "Admiral, the enemy fleet is maintaining course," reported his tactical officer. "They're not even trying to scan us properly. They don't think we're a threat," Stone replied. "That's about to change. Signal all ships. Weapons free." The transformation was immediate and terrifying. The human vessels, which had seemed almost peaceful in their approach, suddenly bristled with weapons. Gun ports opened, missile tubes armed, and energy weapons began to charge. The aliens had expected to face the same small defensive craft they had encountered before. Instead, they found themselves staring down the barrels of humanity's most advanced warships. Captain Gray felt the familiar weight of command as his crew prepared for battle. The HDF Retribution was a dreadnought-class vessel designed specifically for ship-to-ship combat. Its weapon systems had been tested in simulations for years, but never used in actual warfare. Today, that would change. "Enemy fleet in range." "Captain," his weapons officer announced. "Fire at will," Gray ordered. The first salvo from the human fleet was devastating. Hundreds of missiles streaked across space, followed by concentrated energy beams that could cut through the strongest. Alien armor. Aviran ships, expecting light resistance, found themselves under assault from weapons they had never seen before. Commander Rex watched in horror as his forward squadrons simply vanished under the human barrage. What are those weapons?" He stammered. "Sir, they're using some kind of plasma cannon we've never encountered," his tactical officer replied, his voice shaking. "And their missiles? They're not following normal trajectories. They're actively hunting our ships." The human missiles were indeed different. Each one contained sophisticated AI systems that could track targets, adapt to countermeasures, and even coordinate with other missiles for maximum effectiveness. They were the product of decades of research into offensive warfare, research that had been hidden from the galaxy under the cover of defensive preparations. But the missiles were just the beginning. As the alien fleet tried to regroup, the human ships began to demonstrate their true capabilities. They moved with precision that seemed impossible for vessels of their size. Their formation flying so tight it looked like a single massive entity. Their weapons fired in perfect coordination, creating overlapping fields of destruction that no enemy could escape. "They're not fighting like explorers," Elder Kess whispered to her bridge crew. "They're fighting like predators." She was right. The human fleet moved through space like a pack of wolves, isolating enemy ships and destroying them with ruthless efficiency. There was no wasted motion, no unnecessary risk. Every action was calculated to maximize damage while minimizing losses. Stone watched the battle unfold with professional detachment. This was what humanity had been trying to avoid, not because they feared losing, but because they knew what they were capable of when pushed to violence. The aliens had mistaken mercy for weakness, and now they were paying the price. Asterisk. Sir, enemy forces are attempting to retreat, reported his communications officer. Negative, Stone replied. They wanted to see our true nature. Let them see it in full. No survivors. The order was harsh, but necessary. The galaxy needed to understand that humanity's peaceful nature was a choice, not a weakness. The aliens had forced this confrontation, and now they would face the consequences of their actions. The battle raged for 6 hours. When it ended, the Varan fleet had been completely destroyed. Not a single alien ship escaped to carry news of humanity's true military might. The message would be sent through other channels, but the demonstration had been clear. Humanity was done being patient. Asterisk, the news of the Varan fleet's complete destruction spread through the galaxy like wildfire. In council chambers, military academies, and diplomatic stations across known space, the same recordings were played over and over. The images showed a one-sided massacre that defied everything the galactic community thought they knew about humanity. General. Tor of the Hive Collective stared at the tactical analysis with disbelief. These readings must be wrong, he buzzed to his advisors. No species advances this quickly in military technology. 3 years ago, they were running from our scouts. The data is confirmed, General, replied his intelligence officer. The human fleet displayed weapon systems at least 2 generations ahead of anything we've seen. Their tactical coordination was perfect. What the aliens didn't understand was that they had been watching humanity's colonial defense forces ships designed to protect civilian populations, not wage war. The Black Fleet represented something entirely different. Humanity's true military potential, refined through centuries of warfare on their homeworld and perfected in secret. On Earth, Admiral Stone stood before the Global Defense Council, his expression grave. The decision to reveal their true capabilities had not been made lightly. For generations, humanity had maintained a careful balance, appearing strong enough to defend themselves, but not so strong as to threaten the established galactic order. The masquerade is over, Stone reported. Every major power in the galaxy now knows that we've been hiding our true strength. We can expect 3 possible responses: immediate aggression, desperate diplomacy, or strategic withdrawal. Council Chairman West leaned forward. What's our assessment of their actual military capabilities compared to ours? Stone activated a holographic display showing comparative fleet strengths. Based on our observations over the past 3 years, we estimate that humanity's military technology is approximately 50 to 70 years ahead of the galactic average. Our production capacity is also significantly higher than previously calculated. The numbers were staggering. While the aliens had been fighting limited engagements with patrol craft, humanity had been building an industrial war machine that dwarfed anything seen in the galaxy. Hidden shipyards, automated factories, and classified research facilities had been preparing for this moment for decades. Captain Gray received his new orders while his ship was being resupplied. The HDF Retribution would lead a battle group to the Kepler sector, where alien forces were reportedly massing for a counterattack. The mission parameters were clear: demonstrate overwhelming force and demand unconditional surrender. Sir, we're detecting multiple fleet movements across the sector, reported his intelligence officer. It looks like they're trying to form coalition. Let them come, Gray replied. The more they bring, the clearer our message will be. The aliens were indeed forming a coalition. Species that had been enemies for centuries were suddenly allies, united by their fear of humanity's revealed strength. The Aves, the Hive, the Reptilian Federation, and a dozen smaller powers were contributing ships to what they called the Galactic Defense Force. Ambassador Kane stood before the assembled alien representatives, his diplomatic demeanor unchanged despite the circumstances. "Humanity offers one final opportunity for peace," he announced. "Withdraw from all human territories. Release all prisoners and enter into formal non-aggression pacts. In return, we will not pursue retaliatory actions against your homeworlds." The alien response was immediate and predictable. "You dare make demands of us?" roared General Tor. "We are the established powers of this galaxy. You are newcomers who have revealed themselves to be deceptive and aggressive." Kane's expression didn't change. "We are neither deceptive nor aggressive. We are simply well prepared. You have seen one fleet action. We have 7 battle groups currently active, with more being commissioned daily. This is your last chance to choose diplomacy over annihilation." The aliens refused, as expected. Their pride and fear had combined into a toxic mixture that made rational negotiation impossible. They saw humanity's offers of peace as signs of weakness, not understanding that each refused. Diplomatic overture was removing another restraint from Earth's military response. Admiral Stone received confirmation of the diplomatic failure within. "Ours." His response was swift and decisive. "Signal all fleet commanders. Operation Sovereignty is now active. We are no longer fighting to defend our territory. We are fighting to secure our future in this galaxy." The message was clear to both humans and aliens. Humanity had tried patience, mercy, and diplomacy. The galaxy had responded with aggression, testing, and ultimately, warfare. Now they would face the consequences of their choices. The species that had spent millennia perfecting the art of war was no longer hiding behind a facade of peaceful exploration. The galaxy was about to learn why humanity had been so desperate to avoid this conflict, and why their desperation had been mistaken for weakness. The Kepler sector became the focal point of the galaxy's attention as the largest fleet engagement in recorded history began to unfold. The alien coalition had assembled over 800 warships from 12 different species, representing the combined military might of half the galaxy. Against them, humanity sent 3 battle groups less than 200 ships total. The aliens saw this as vindication of their strategy. "They're overconfident," declared Fleet Admiral Vex of the Reptilian Federation. "They won one engagement against an unprepared force. We'll show them what happens when they face the galaxy's true military power." Captain Gray stood on the bridge of the HDF Retribution, watching the enemy fleet form up in the distance. His tactical display showed the overwhelming numerical disadvantage, but his expression remained calm. The humans had learned long ago that victory wasn't always about having more ships. It was about having better ships, better training, and better strategy. "Enemy fleet is maintaining standard formation," reported his tactical officer. "They're treating this like a conventional engagement." "They still don't understand," Gray replied. "Signal the fleet. Execute Pattern Omega." What happened next redefined space warfare. The human ships didn't advance in formation. They scattered, each one taking a different vector toward the enemy fleet. To the aliens, it looked like panic or incompetence. In reality, it was the most sophisticated tactical maneuver ever executed in space combat. Each human ship carried an AI tactical system that could coordinate with every other ship in real time. As they approached the enemy fleet, they began to execute a 3-dimensional dance of destruction that turned the battlefield into a killing field. The aliens found themselves fighting not individual ships, but a single, unified intelligence that could predict and counter their every move. "They're everywhere at once," General Tor broadcast to his fleet. "How are they coordinating like this?" The answer would have terrified him. Humanity's ships weren't just individual vessels. They were components of a larger weapon system. Every shot fired, every maneuver executed, every tactical decision made was part of a calculated algorithm designed to achieve maximum destruction with minimum losses. The battle raged for 18 hours. When it ended, the alien coalition had lost over 600 ships. The human fleet had lost 7. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the recording spread through every communication network, every military analysis center, every diplomatic station. Admiral Stone received the battle report while reviewing intelligence from across the galaxy. The alien coalition's defeat had triggered exactly the response he had expected: panic, desperate diplomatic overtures, and most importantly, the revelation of their true technological capabilities as they deployed their most advanced weapons in a futile attempt to level the playing field. "Sir, we're receiving surrender offers from 14 different species," reported his communications officer. "They're offering territorial concessions, technology transfers, and formal submission to human authority." Stone nodded grimly. "And the others?" 17 species are pulling back to their core worlds and fortifying. They're preparing for siege warfare. This was the choice Stone had known would come. The galaxy's powers were dividing into those who would submit and those who would fight to the end. Neither option was satisfactory for humanity's long-term security. Captain Gray received new orders as his battered but victorious fleet regrouped. The HDF Retribution would lead a task force to the Centauri Nebula, where the Aves had established a defensive position around their homeworld. The mission parameters were different this time. Not destruction, but demonstration. "Sir, the Aves have surrounded their homeworld with orbital defense platforms," reported his intelligence officer. "Our analysis suggests they're planning to fight from fortified positions. Then we'll show them why fortifications are useless against superior technology," Gray replied. The siege of the Aves' homeworld lasted 3 days. The humans didn't use overwhelming force, they used precision. Each orbital platform was disabled with surgical strikes that left the planet below untouched. The Aves' fleet was systematically dismantled, ship by ship, with such efficiency that it looked almost effortless. On the planet below, Elder Kess watched her species' proud navy being destroyed with methodical precision. "They're not even trying to kill us," she whispered. "They're just ... teaching us." She was right. The humans weren't fighting to conquer or destroy. They were fighting to educate. Every engagement was a lesson in the futility of opposing humanity's military might. The message was clear. Resistance was not only pointless, it was unnecessary. The galaxy was learning that humanity's true strength wasn't in their weapons or their ships, it was in their restraint. A species capable of such destruction, yet choosing to use minimum force necessary, was far more terrifying than any genocidal conqueror. 6 months after the Kepler sector engagement, the galaxy was a very different place. The old power structures had crumbled, replaced by a new reality where humanity's word carried absolute authority. In the rebuilt council chambers of the Galactic Congress, representatives from dozens of species waited nervously for the human delegation to arrive. Admiral Stone entered the chamber without ceremony, flanked by 2 aides. He wore a simple uniform devoid of the elaborate decorations favored by alien military leaders. His presence alone was enough to quiet the assembled representatives. They had all seen the recordings of what happened to those who underestimated humanity. "The Terran Federation has reviewed your proposals," Stone announced, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "We find them ... inadequate." The alien representatives shifted uncomfortably. Since humanity's true military capabilities had been revealed, every species had been desperately trying to negotiate favorable terms. Trade agreements, territorial concessions, technology sharing, all offered in the hope of avoiding humanity's Elder Kess, now representing the remnants of the Avi's government, stood slowly. Admiral, we have offered everything we can. Our fleets are disbanded, our weapons destroyed. What more do you want? Stone's expression didn't change. We want what we've always wanted, to be left alone to develop in peace. The problem is that you've proven this is impossible under the current system. The truth was becoming clear to the assembled aliens. Humanity wasn't interested in conquest or domination. They wanted security. The galaxy's chaotic political structure, with its constant wars and shifting alliances, was fundamentally incompatible with human goals. Captain Gray had been assigned to oversee the pacification of the Outer Rim territories, where several species were still offering resistance. The HDF Retribution now served as a mobile command center, coordinating operations across multiple sectors. The work was methodical and efficient. Each pocket of resistance was eliminated with minimal casualties and maximum psychological impact. Sir, the Hive Collective has requested negotiations, reported his communications officer. They're willing to discuss terms. Gray nodded. Schedule a meeting, but make it clear that this is their final opportunity for peaceful resolution. The meeting took place in neutral space, aboard a converted civilian station. General Tor arrived. With a small escort, his usual arrogance replaced by desperate pragmatism. The Hive had lost 70% of their military assets in the past 6 months, and their economy was collapsing under the strain of constant warfare. We seek an end to hostilities, Tor announced as soon as the meeting began. The Hive Collective acknowledges human superiority and requests terms for coexistence. Gray consulted his tablet, reviewing the terms that had been approved by Earth Command. The Hive will surrender all military vessels larger than patrol craft. Your government will be restructured under human oversight. All military actions must be approved by Terran authorities. In exchange, your species will be granted protected status and guaranteed survival. The terms were harsh, but not unreasonable. Humanity was offering what they had always offered: peace, stability, and protection. The cost was independence, but the alternative was annihilation. Tor's mandibles clicked nervously. And if we refuse? Then you will be classified as a continuing threat to galactic stability, Gray replied. We will respond accordingly. The meaning was clear. The Hive could accept humanity's terms and survive, or they could fight and face extinction. There was no third option. Back on Earth, the Global Defense Council was grappling with the implications of their military success. They had won the war, but now they faced the challenge of managing a galaxy that was fundamentally hostile to their values and goals. We can't garrison every system, argued Council Chairman West. Our forces are spread too thin as it is. Admiral Stone activated a holographic display showing the current deployment of human forces. We don't need to garrison every system. We need to create a structure that maintains peace without constant intervention. The solution was elegant in its simplicity. Humanity would establish a series of security zones around their territory, enforced by automated defense systems and rapid response fleets. Any species that maintained peaceful relations would be granted protection and trade privileges. Those that didn't would be isolated and contained. The new order was taking shape. Across the galaxy, species that had warred for centuries were suddenly cooperating under human oversight. Trade routes that had been disrupted by constant conflict were reopening. The galaxy was experiencing a period of unprecedented peace and prosperity. But the cost was clear. Humanity's vision of the future was the only one that mattered. The aliens had tested their resolve and found it unbreakable. Now they would live in a galaxy shaped by human values, protected by human strength, and governed by human wisdom. Asterisk. 1 year after the last major engagement, the galaxy had settled into an uneasy peace. The Terran Federation's headquarters on Luna had become the unofficial capital of known space, where representatives from dozens of species came to seek approval for everything from trade agreements to territorial disputes. Admiral Stone stood in his office, looking out at the Earth below. The planet appeared peaceful, but he knew the truth: humanity had become the galaxy's police force, judge, and executioner. It was a burden they had never wanted, but one they had been forced to accept. "Sir, we have a situation in the Vega system," reported his aide, Commander Blue. "The Reptilian Federation and the Aquatic Alliance are disputing mining rights." Stone sighed. "Send a mediation team. And remind them both that any military action will result in immediate intervention." This was the new reality. Humanity's overwhelming military superiority had ended large-scale warfare, but it had also made them responsible for every conflict, every dispute, every breakdown in interspecies relations. The galaxy had become dependent on human intervention to maintain peace. Captain Gray commanded the HDF Retribution as it patrolled the neutral zone, a buffer area established between human space and the territories of species that had refused to submit. His ship was one of dozens constantly monitoring the region, ready to respond to any threat. "Sir, we're detecting unauthorized fleet movements in the Proxima sector," reported his tactical officer. "It looks like the warrior clans are massing for another attack." Gray nodded grimly. The warrior clans were the last major holdout against human authority, a collection of militant species that preferred death to submission. They had been testing humanity's resolve for months, launching suicide attacks and terrorist strikes. "Signal the fleet," Gray ordered. "It's time to end this." The final battle was swift and decisive. The warrior clans had expected humanity to show mercy, to offer terms, to hesitate before committing genocide. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that had learned the cost of half measures. The human fleet didn't negotiate, didn't offer terms, didn't show mercy. When it was over, the warrior clans had been completely eliminated. Not just their military, their entire civilization had been erased from existence. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the recording spread, showing humanity's response to those who refused to accept the new order. Elder Kess, now serving as the AV's representative to the Terran Council, stood before Admiral Stone in his office. "Was it necessary to destroy them completely?" she asked. "They were defeated. They posed no real threat." Stone's expression was carved from stone. "They posed a threat to the stability we've worked to create." Every species that watched needed to understand that there are consequences for choosing violence over peace. The message had been received. Across the galaxy, the last pockets of resistance surrendered or fled to the unknown regions beyond mapped space. The age of galactic warfare was over, replaced by an era of human-enforced peace. But the cost of that peace was becoming clear. Humanity had become something they had never wanted to be, the galaxy's rulers, its ultimate arbiters of justice and punishment. The species that had once prided itself on compassion and understanding had been forced to become judges and executioners. On Earth, the Global Defense Council met in emergency session. The reports from across the galaxy were clear. Humanity's military actions had achieved their objectives, but at a price that many were uncomfortable paying. "We've become everything we fought against," argued Chairman West. "We're the Galactic Empire, the oppressive force that dictates terms to everyone else." Admiral Stone's response was measured but firm. "We became what the galaxy forced us to become. They tested our resolve, our patience, our desire for peace. When they found us wanting in cruelty, they mistook it for weakness. Now they know better." The debate would continue for decades, but the reality was already established. Humanity's position as the galaxy's dominant power was unassailable. Their fleets patrolled the space lanes. Their word was law, and their vision of peace was the Niev, only one that mattered. The species that had expected compassion from humanity had indeed received it, but they had also received justice, order, and the harsh truth that mercy was a privilege that could be revoked. The galaxy was at peace, but it was a peace purchased with the blood of those who had chosen war over diplomacy. Humanity had sent their most ruthless fleet, and in doing so, had revealed their true nature, not the gentle explorers the galaxy had expected, but the descendants of a species that had conquered their own world and would not hesitate to conquer the stars if necessary. The age of human dominance had begun, and there was no going back. Asterisk.